Lee, hi. Hello, this is Jim Delapine. I want to give you some video guidance here with regards to what you've done. You're extremely good technically. You're a great student. You're always on time. But I need you to think more creatively, okay? You have the opportunity here to do some amazing, outrageous things in the course. So take advantage of that, okay? So I want to give you some suggestions here. First of all, the character needs to fit within a 6 by 8 inch area within your document. So I'm going to show you how to do that first. So let me go down here and I'm going to go above. I'm going to select everything above the city background, and then I'm going to scroll up to the top and shift click the mic stand. Okay, so all these layers are selected at the same time. Then I'm going to hit Control T for free transform. Okay, that will put a bounding box around everything. Now, you cannot see it within the window here, so here's what you need to do. Hit Control 0. That zooms out and brings that bounding box in there. Okay? So, if you're on the Mac, it's Command. If you're in the Windows environment, it's Control. So what I'm going to do is click on any corner. Actually, I also have the text selected too. I didn't want to do that. So, okay, so I made an error there. So here's a good way to show you how to correct that. I didn't make an error, I just forgot. So if you control click, that will deselect. Nope, I have the freeform transform option up. So you know what? Let me just hit enter. And now I'm going to do the same thing again, but I'm going to deselect the sheet music, the R, and anything that has to do with the Roxanne Rhapsody Roy text, okay? So rockin', sheet music, and that should be good, okay? So now when I hit Control T, no, it's still a wide bounding box. So that means part of this image extends way out to this area, okay? So I'm going to go to any corner, click, start dragging in. As I'm dragging, I'm going to hold down the Shift key to constrain the proportions. Otherwise, it'll do this. Okay? And then the Alt or Option key will scale it into the center point. All right, so just something as simple, something like that would be fine. All right? All right, you're going to let go of the mouse first, and then the Shift and the Alt key, and then hit Enter to apply that transformation. All right, so note that whatever was not active scaled down. All right, nothing. The text wasn't affected, and neither was the background. So speaking of the background, let me just see how big that is. Okay, so all right, so you've got a very big background here. Although the quality is poor, if you zoom in, you could see all this pixelization in here. They call that JPEG artifacts. So the quality does not compare to the character. So just be mindful of that. So that means you can actually go to your move tool and scale this entire back. Whoops, I forgot to deselect. So let me deselect and then go to the background, select that, and now note that you can slide this over so you can actually choose something else if you'd like. But I see why you choose this location here, because you've got the character standing on this platform. There's something black here. Why is there a black edge here? That may be just my selection. Okay. No, that's good. I think that's fine. No, that's a 0. Okay, never mind. All right. So actually, I wanted to bring Roy. I should have actually had him standing on the platform. So let me fix that. Okay, so let me resume here. So I see you have a layer here that says wall shadow. That does not make sense. So I'm going to delete that. If you meant that this would be a shadow from the character, I commend you for your thinking. That's good, but that will be in this up and coming lesson, I think. But there's another way to do that. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll select everything above from speaker on up to the mic stand. Hit Control T, and that will allow me to bring this character down and rest him on the platform. Okay, so your character now has nice amount of space here. So I want to show you a text technique that would really make this thing sing nice. So first I'm going to go up here. I'm going to, this text should not be up against an edge. It's a design issue if you do that, so try to ignore that. Alright, so let me just, this sheet music is clipped, so let me unclip it by Alt or Option clicking between the layers. Okay, so this is what I want. I'm going to remove the effects by right-clicking on the effects icon and selecting clear layer style. All right. Actually, I kind of like that yellow. Let's keep it. All right. So all this other text here, anything to do with your text, I'm going to hide. Okay. You've got the sheet music duplicated, which is fine. All right. So we've got this. So let's just keep this to the side here for now. And what I did was I created text here before we did the demo. And each text is on its own layer. All right, so here's what I want you to do. But this is just something that, another option for you. You did nothing wrong, but it's my job to show you options. So let me just go down here and hide the sheet music for now. All right, so Roy, I'm going to take this layer here. Note also that if you have auto select checked with the move tool active, wherever you click, it's going to go right to that layer. So instead of hunting for it, it just is a very simple way of quickly finding it. Okay, so let's give Roy more character. All right, he's kind of boring. All right, so nothing personal, but let's look at this text here. I'm going to take this text, and I made this text, let's see, what did I make it? It is Arial black, so you want a heavy text, you know, something that has some thickness to it. Okay, so I'm going to scale this. So with that Roy layer active, I'm going to hit Control T, and then I'm going to scale it up, and I'm just going to select the corner bounding box and drag it around and manipulate it so that it is going to look like this. I'll stretch it up, and I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants here, but I'm not telling you to do this. I'm showing you that different options. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to have all of the text seen to be read as being text, okay, or the name. So let me hide this. Actually, before I do the text, I'm going to do something else. I want to first of all show you how you can animate this more. All right, this is it's very stiff. All right, so let's select the microphone stand. All right. Now, in order to do this method, I want to warp this. So if I go to Edit, Transform, Warp, I can kind of like warp. Well, actually, I could do it, you know, just like this. Okay. So you're twisting it and turning it. So what we're going to do is you're going to have to practice with this a little bit. If you're familiar with the Bezier curve, these handles will be understandable to you. But you basically want to click and drag these lines, and I'm trying to bend this to make it look like Roy is in motion. Okay, so once you do that, you're going to hit Enter to apply that transformation, and I'm going to move this up here somewhere. All right, and then we'll do the same thing with the speaker stand, but the speaker stand needs to be up above the piper, I guess you'd call it. All right, so I'm going to zoom in. All right, and I'm going to, I'll hit, I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Warp, and do the same thing. All right, so you're going to have to experiment with this to see what you want. So I want to make it look like he's actually standing on the surface. So that means having this parallel to the surface. So you're going to have to do some twisting and pulling and adjusting, and this also gives it a bit of an animation too. Okay, so you can see where I'm going with this. So and then up here I would say let's pull this and maybe pull this down. I'll stick with that. Okay, I'll hit Enter to apply the transformation, zoom in. Now what we're going to do is make it look like it's coming I mean, this is kind of an odd situation with these with these images you've selected to make it look like this, but at least it'll look like it's intentional, right? So with the speaker selected and the layer mask thumbnail active, that's very important. You're going to go to your paintbrush tool. You're going to make sure your paintbrush is at 100% hardness. You're going to make sure your foreground color is black, and then you're going to click on the layer mask now, all right, and just kind of like eat away those pixels. Then you're going to select white as your foreground color. So you can either click on this or hit the letter X to swap it. So white will bring the image back into view. If you want to decrease or increase your brush size, you're going to hit your left or right bracket key underneath the backspace key on your keyboard, so to determine what's best for you. All right, so you may want to go. In some cases it'll be large, in some cases it'll be small. So I'll just pick up a small brush, and let's just say you wanted to go with bearing a curved edge. Here's another trick. If you click once and shift, hold down the shift key, and then click, 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 click in small increments, you can actually create an arc. Okay, so click and keeping the shift key held down as you click creates a straight line. So for example, if I clicked here, wait a second. If I clicked here and shift clicked, it creates a straight line. See? So let me undo that twice. Control Z, Control Alt Z, and now you can finish that and then do that. Okay, so, and the same thing would hold true for the mic stand. Okay, so I'm still in the paintbrush mode. If I hold down the Control key, that switches me over to the Command key, and that will allow me to quickly find out where the mic stand is. Select the thumbnail, and whoops. See, now what I did was I'm painting with white, so I want to go with black, so I'm going to hide this portion. So I'm kind of working backwards. I'm going to eat away those pixels and then swap my foreground and background colors and click and shift click to bring it back in. Okay? Alright, so this is a very long demo, but you deserve it because you've worked hard. You're always early. Alright, so let's do this. Let's go now to this text I talked about. Okay? So with the text, you're going to, let's see, where is the text? So it's rocking here, and I wanted Roy, so let's make Roy visible. Let's take Rhapsody, bring this down here, and hit Control T to stretch that out and up, and manipulate that. I'm going to make it large, and I'm just, choosing a location here. I'm going to place this behind this neon sign here, so I may want to come in a little bit, partially behind. Well, it's really not that critical. Okay, you want to stay from the edges of any document. It's poor design to go right up against the edge. You want to leave visual breathing room around these characters. Okay, let me hit Enter, go to Rockin, and I'm going to Control T and scale this up and out. Okay, and I'll stop there. Okay, so now here's what I'm going to do. I have my position. I'm going to Control or Command click on the T of the one layer, and then Shift click the other two T's. All right, the Shift key adds 2. All right, that's the basic. The Shift key has 2 purposes. It adds 2, and it constrains. Okay, so I'm going to hide those text layers. All I wanted was the selection. Then I'm going to go down to the bottom to the background. I'm going to select the background, and I'm going to hit with the selection action. I'm going to hit Control J. That copies what was in that selection to the layer above. So I have that. All right, it's seamless. You cannot see it. So what we're now going to do is apply a layer style to it. So I'll double click on the layer style. Right here, okay? You don't want to double click on the name. That brings up this. So I'm going to select Bevel and Emboss, all right? That you immediately see a result. So this is a way of getting some text in an image so that the background is still viewable, all right? So you can choose a lot of other options in here also, so feel free to experiment. But you know, the size will do one thing, and so on and so forth. So what we can also do is add a color overlay. Okay, so I selected a color overlay, and in order to edit any one of these, you would need to select the name. So it's kind of interesting. This is a previous setup I had before, and I like actually how it looks. This is the color is blue, but the blending mode is exclusion. All right, so this is normal blending mode, so it would be blue. All right, and you can adjust the opacity of it. Okay, so you can see through it. But you can really get interesting results if you experiment with the blending modes within that layer style for this. So if I select multiply, that's one blending mode. Now if you hit your down arrow key, you'll see a variety of different changes occurring, okay? And you'll get very surprising and interesting effects with whatever you choose. So, I mean, overlay was nice. Linear light. Difference is interesting. Exclusion is what I had before initially. But let's go to overlay and just leave it at that, okay? So I'll hit OK. So we have two blending mode selections two options selected within the layer style. I'll hit OK. All right. Now what we want to do is make this appear as if it's behind certain things. You know, this is not dramatic enough for. It could work. It could work. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to apply a layer mask to this. But first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to what am I going to do? I'm going to rasterize the layer style. If I don't rasterize the layer style, when I start to eat away, you'll see the layer style surrounding the areas that I want to mask out. Okay. So if I right click and select rasterize layer style, they disappear and they're embedded in the text now. All right. So now I'm going to create a layer mask, zoom in, and now I'm going to make it look like this text is behind certain elements, like behind this gate here, fence, behind the floor, and behind this sign here. Okay, so layer mask, paintbrush tool, make sure it's at 100% hardness, very important. Make sure black is your foreground color. I'll then zoom in. Now your background is poor quality, so I'm going to actually not use 100% hardness. I'm going to use a slight blur. All right, it'll tend to blend in better. All right, so now if I click here and shift click, all right, it may be hard to see, but I am masking out the text to make it appear as if the gate is in front of the text. All right, so click, shift click, click, shift click. Okay, here you have a large second arc here. So I'll get a larger brush by hitting the right bracket key, and I'll click and shift click around the edges here. All right. So you see what I'm doing here? All right. Same thing with this. Click and shift click, and that will allow me. So that gives the illusion that it's behind that deck. Okay. So do the same thing over here. All right. And then what I want you to do is also do the same thing with the text so it appears as if it's behind the sign. So if I click and shift click, where's that sign end? It's kind of hard to see. It's right around here. All right, so yeah, it's unfortunate that your image quality is poor, so feel free to experiment with another image for that. All right, so you can also, all right, so now this text looks like it's, the Roy text looks like it's behind it, okay? So you would do the same method for Rhapsody and Rockin'. I would place it behind the sign here. All right, and now you can also do this. You can take this and make adjust that text. You know, if you create an adjustment layer for, let's say, levels, okay? So what this does now, this is part of your Unit 4, I'm sorry, the next assignment. You have to have adjustment layers that are clipping masks and a saved and renamed channel. All right, so that is different than an image that is a clipping mask. I want you to create an adjustment layer that is a clipping mask, okay? And I'll show you why. If I do this, I'll make it very, very dark, okay? So that changed the entire background and the text, okay? So this layer mask, this adjustment layer is affecting all of the underlying layers, so it includes the background. However, if I make this a clipping mask by Alt or Option clicking right here, it now only affects the text layer, okay? So keep that in mind. So you know what? This is an extremely long demo that I'm going to stop. And I want you to do this. I want you to take this, though, and do something different. I want this to be more animated. Even if you have to twist, make him look like he's dancing. This is what I want you to do. All right, so if you hit Control T, I just selected these two drumsticks and the pipa. And now if I drag the center and hit Control T, if I drag the center point down here, I can rotate it, you know, to give him more motion, more animation. Of course, I should have done that before I did this, layer masks for this, but it was an afterthought. So now you can take these two elements here and here, move them over, whoops. I'm clicking and I'm shift clicking this wire here, and then that will allow me to move these over and rotate them, and also do this, edit, transform, flip vertical, all right, and then rotate it. Look at the animation that's going to happen now. All right, so I'll just rotate this here. Now he's got his arms going up, all right? And what I also want you to do is make it appear as if these are going behind the text or in between the text. So for example, let me just hide this background layer here. Let's say I wanted it to look like these arms are going through the R, okay? So what I do is select the layer mask. Why isn't it selecting here? For that layer, oh, it did select, okay. So it's for this, all right? Select the layer mask, and then go to your paintbrush tool, make sure that's at 100% hardness. All right, decrease the brush size by hitting the left bracket key, and now you have to imagine, what would you do to make it look like his arm is coming through the hole in the R? Okay, the answer is to mask out this portion right here. Okay, once you do that, it looks like the arms are coming through the negative space in the R. All right, I want you to do all that. I know you can do it, and good luck. Bye.